June isn't just another mark on the gardening calendar. For the majority of American gardeners, this month represents the final opportunity, the absolute last chance to sow certain crops and still anticipate a bountiful harvest before the first frost signals the end of the season. Missing this critical period means more than just foregoing fresh produce. It means sending your hard-earned money back to the grocery store, dollar by dollar, throughout the autumn. Having cultivated gardens for over 25 years, I'm here to reveal the 9 essential crops that experienced gardeners are currently sowing directly into the earth, while others remain bewildered in the garden center aisles, uncertain of their next move. Stay with me for this entire presentation, as crop number 5 is frequently overlooked by most gardeners, leading to what is consistently cited as their biggest regret each fall. The financial implications of squandering this planting window are truly startling. Before we proceed further, please share your U.S. state or USDA hardiness zone in the comments below. Indicate where you're cultivating your garden. Whether it's Zone 7 in North Carolina, Zone 9 in Arizona, or Zone 5 in Minnesota, this information is crucial and significantly impacts the advice I'll provide today. Each zone you contribute helps this channel construct an accurate depiction of where Americans are actively growing food across the nation. Let's begin with crop number 1, zucchini and summer squash. I'll start with the crop that will most rapidly elevate your status as a proficient gardener. Even if you've never successfully grown a thing in your life, zucchini and summer squash are among the most dependable and productive vegetables you can plant in June. Sow them directly now, and within 45 to 60 days, you'll possess more squash than you can manage. This isn't an overstatement. It's the inherent biological reality of these plants. Here's a vital piece of information that garden centers often omit. Those rather unappealing squash seedlings they offer in small plastic containers during May are entirely unnecessary. Zucchini and summer squash thrive when transplanted directly from seed. They dislike root disturbance. The moment you introduce a transplant into warm June soil, you forfeit a considerable advantage. Seeds sown directly into June soil, which has reached 65 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, will germinate within 3 to 7 days and often catch up to, and sometimes even surpass, transplanted seedlings within 3 weeks. Plant them directly and avoid overcomplicating the process. The ideal varieties will depend on your specific circumstances. Black Beauty remains a time-tested standard, reliably productive in all zones from 3 to 10. Costata Romanesco is an Italian heirloom renowned for its exceptional flavor. Its dense, nutty profile makes it far superior for cooking compared to the bland grocery store zucchini your family has endured for years. For confined raised beds, consider Patio Star or Bush Baby. For the quickest harvest, early prolific Straightneck consistently ranks among the most productive performers in warm soil, performing admirably in zones 3 through 10. Plant seeds approximately 1 inch deep, spaced 3 feet apart, in full sunlight. And I mean unfiltered, direct sunlight, not dappled shade. These are heat-loving summer crops that require every available minute of direct solar exposure. Incorporate an inch of compost into the soil before sowing. Water them thoroughly, then step back. The most common error gardeners make with zucchini is excessive nitrogen fertilization. After the plant becomes established, this practice leads to immense foliage with minimal fruit production. Nourish the soil prior to planting, not afterward. Allow the plant to naturally fulfill its purpose, which is to produce fruit at an astonishing rate. Inspect your plants daily once they begin producing fruit. A zucchini that measures 4 inches today could easily become a 12-inch behemoth by tomorrow morning. Overgrown zucchini loses its appealing flavor and signals the plant to curtail fruit production. Harvest them when they are small and harvest frequently. This is the golden rule for this crop, and adhering to it is the difference between an 8-week continuous harvest and a plant that peaks prematurely and ceases production. One more crucial aspect of zucchini cultivation that receives insufficient attention is powdery mildew. By August, nearly every zucchini plant in America appears as though it's been dusted with flour. This is a natural and unavoidable occurrence. It doesn't signify the plant's demise, Rather, it indicates that the plant has been working diligently for 8 weeks and is nearing the end of its productive cycle. Do not panic, refrain from using chemical treatments, and do not remove the plant immediately upon noticing mildew. Continue harvesting until the plant naturally ceases production. You will recognize when this occurs. Gardeners in zones 3 through 5 should sow seeds this week in early June. Those in zones 6 through 9 have flexibility until mid-June. Gardeners in zones 9 and 10 can extend plantings into early July, but direct sowing in June offers the most advantageous summer production window. Now let's discuss the financial aspect, as this is where June planting truly becomes compelling. A single healthy zucchini plant at its peak production can yield 3 to 5 pounds of squash per week over a harvest period of 6 to 8 weeks. This equates to 20 to 40 pounds of squash from just one plant. Organic zucchini at a grocery store or farmer's market typically ranges from $2 to $4 per pound, depending on your location. A single plant, grown from a seed packet costing $3, can generate $40 to $160 in equivalent grocery store value. By planting 3 to 4 plants, you are looking at over $400 worth of produce from a mere $10 seed investment. Take a moment to fully appreciate that calculation. Moving on to crop number 2, bush beans and pole beans. If a more satisfying and financially rewarding crop for direct sowing in June exists, I haven't discovered it in 25 years. Beans are not meant to be started indoors. They dislike being coddled in greenhouse trays. They require warm soil, 60 degrees Fahrenheit or above, and prefer to be sown directly into the ground where they will grow. June provides precisely these conditions: warm soil, warm air, and rapid germination, typically within 5 to 10 days under favorable circumstances. I will address the two categories separately as they serve distinct purposes in a June garden, and their harvests occur at different times. Bush beans offer the quickest return. Provider is the variety I recommend first to any beginner because it truly lives up to its name. It germinates in less than ideal soil, tolerates heat, resists common bean diseases, and produces a substantial flush of 4 to 5 inch pods 50 to 55 days after sowing. This typically falls in mid to late July, depending on your zone. Blue Lake 274 is another classic, widely available and consistently productive. Contender is worth growing if you reside in the South or any region where summer temperatures regularly exceed 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It was specifically developed to withstand such heat without dropping blossoms. Pole beans require a bit more time, typically 60 to 70 days, but the overall yield from a well-supported trellis is significantly higher per square foot of garden space compared to bush beans. Kentucky Wonder has been a staple in American gardens for over 150 years due to its reliability. Rattlesnake is another heirloom variety that produces prolifically in hot weather and features the attractive visual element of purple streaking on its pods. Filet is a French filet-style pole bean. Its thinner pods boast exceptional flavor and remain tender for longer than most varieties, providing a more extended harvest window between checks. Now let's break down the financial implications of growing beans. A 10-foot row of bush beans, which occupies minimal space, will yield 8 to 12 pounds of fresh beans over the harvest period. Fresh beans at the grocery store currently range from $2 to $3 per pound. That equates to $24 to $36 of produce from a garden strip smaller than a standard sofa. Pole beans grown on a trellis in the same 10-foot run will yield even more over a longer season, sometimes 15 to 20 pounds in total. Succession planting is the most effective strategy for bush beans. Sow a row now, then sow another row 3 weeks later, and repeat this process 3 weeks after that. This extends your harvest window from a single concentrated flush in July to a continuous supply through September. I want to be unequivocally clear: do not fertilize beans with nitrogen. Beans fix their own nitrogen from the air through symbiotic bacteria in their root nodules. Adding nitrogen fertilizer disrupts this natural process, resulting in abundant foliage and a scarcity of pods. Plant bean seeds no more than 1 inch deep. Water thoroughly at planting, then wait a day or two before watering again unless conditions are extremely dry and hot. Shallow daily watering keeps the top inch of soil moist, while the deeper roots remain dry, which is the opposite of what you want. Once the first true leaves emerge, these plants are essentially self-sufficient in most summer soils. Let's discuss crop number 3, sweet corn. I will share a piece of information that most gardening books relegate to a footnote, but which every serious home gardener must grasp from the outset. Corn does not transplant well. Period. You cannot start it indoors and transplant it out as you might with tomatoes or peppers. The root system of corn is exceptionally vulnerable to disturbance during its early stages. Transplanting sets it back so severely that you negate or entirely lose the timing advantage you were attempting to achieve. This is precisely why direct sowing in June is not merely convenient. It is the correct and only practical method for cultivating corn at home. June soil, at 65 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, is precisely what corn seeds require for reliable germination. You will typically observe sprouts within 7 to 10 days in warm June conditions. In the appropriate zone, corn planted in early June is ready for harvest in late August, perfectly timed for Labor Day celebrations. For zones 5 and 6, aim for the first week of June. For zones 7 through 9, you have flexibility until mid-June and can even extend plantings into late June in the warmest regions. The varieties are important here, and I want to provide you with their actual names. Peaches and Cream is a classic bicolor variety. Its kernels are a mix of yellow and white, exceptionally sweet, and it matures in 70 to 80 days, making it ideally timed for a June sowing in most zones. Silver Queen is the standard white sweet corn, maturing in 92 days and renowned for its exceptional sweetness and tender skin. For shorter growing seasons in zones 3 through 5, Earl matures in just 63 days and is one of the most cold-tolerant sweet corn varieties available. Now here's a critical detail about corn pollination that garden centers consistently fail to disclose. Mishandling this can result in the loss of an entire season's crop. Corn is wind-pollinated. Each silk strand on a corn ear must receive a grain of pollen from the tassels above. If you plant corn in a single long row, as many novice gardeners do, the pollen drifts sideways on the wind and misses many of the silks, leading to ears that are partially filled or nearly empty. Plant corn in blocks instead, a minimum of 3 rows planted side by side, with spacing of 3 to 4 feet between rows within the block. Seeds should be placed 8 to 12 inches apart within each row. A block formation allows the tassels above to rain pollen down onto the silks below from multiple directions, ensuring fully filled ears every time. The financial justification for growing sweet corn differs from other vegetables on this list. It's not primarily about the per-pound cost. The true value lies in harvesting and consuming corn within hours of picking, at its absolute peak of sugar content, before it converts to starch. This unparalleled experience is unattainable at any price from a grocery store. Commercially harvested corn is picked days before you purchase it, and its sugars have already begun converting. What you grow and consume on the same day is fundamentally different food, and that distinction is the real benefit of home cultivation. Provide corn with full sun, amend the soil with compost before planting, and ensure consistent watering, especially during tasseling and ear development. Inconsistent moisture can lead to incomplete kernel development. I need to pause here for a moment and ask you something honest. Where else are you receiving this information? Consider this seriously. Not from glossy seed catalog photos, which are designed to sell seeds. Not from a teenager at the garden center in May, reading from a tag on a pot. Not from a YouTube video promoting a specific brand of fertilizer for which they receive payment. No one at your local garden center sat down with you this spring and provided precise guidance on which varieties to grow, which block spacing is effective for corn pollination, how to calculate the financial return on a row of pole beans, or what the actual planting window is for winter squash. They didn't share this because such conversations don't drive product sales. This knowledge originates solely from 25 years of practical experience growing these crops, making mistakes, and learning what truly works in real American gardens. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed yet, I genuinely implore you to do so now. It's not for my benefit, but for yours. YouTube's algorithm consistently delivers content from channels you actively follow. If you're not subscribed, this channel will eventually disappear from your feed, and you'll miss out on information that directly influences your planting and harvesting decisions. Hit that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds and costs you absolutely nothing. Let's move on to crop number 4, cucumbers. If your spring cucumber crop was decimated by disease, a late frost, or simply due to you being too busy to plant at the opportune time, don't despair. June is an excellent period for direct sowing cucumbers. In fact, I would argue that in many regions, June-sown cucumbers outperform early transplants. Here's why. Cucumbers are frost-sensitive vines that require warm soil and warm nights. When you rush transplants into the garden in late April or early May, these plants endure weeks of cold stress while the soil temperature gradually increases to their preferred range. A seed sown directly into warm June soil bypasses all of this. It germinates within 3 to 7 days and begins growing immediately, free from transplant shock and stress. By the time a May transplant has fully recovered from its initial cold exposure, a June-sown cucumber has often nearly caught up. The specific varieties I recommend for June planting are as follows. Market 76 is the standard slicing cucumber, disease-resistant, producing within 60 days, and widely available in most zones from 4 through 11. If you've encountered issues with cucumber beetles or bacterial wilt in past seasons, a common problem for many gardeners in zones 5 through 8, look for County Fair. This variety was specifically bred for disease resistance and performs notably better in regions with high wilt pressure. For pickling cucumbers, National Pickling and Calypso are both excellent, fast-producing, and compact enough for smaller gardens. If you desire a burpless variety that your family will actually enjoy eating raw, Sweet Success and Diva are both smooth-skinned, nearly seedless, and produce reliably from June sowings. Financially, cucumbers represent one of the most compelling arguments for home cultivation that I can present. Organic cucumbers at grocery stores typically cost $2 to $4 each in most markets. A well-maintained cucumber vine on a trellis can produce 20 to 30 cucumbers over the course of a season. That single vine is equivalent to $40 to $120 in grocery store value. By planting 4 to 6 vines, which requires approximately 10 linear feet of trellising, you are looking at $200 to $400 worth of cucumbers from a single section of your garden. Grow cucumbers on a trellis. This is not optional advice. Vertical growth significantly enhances air circulation around the leaves, which is the most effective measure you can take to reduce fungal disease pressure, particularly powdery mildew and downy mildew, the two primary diseases that afflict cucumber plants in late summer. Plants grown on a trellis are also considerably easier to harvest, and you will locate cucumbers far more reliably than you would amidst a sprawling mass of ground-trailing vines. A simple 6-foot cattle panel section, a few sturdy posts, or even a wire fence serves perfectly. Plant seeds approximately 1 inch deep, about 12 inches apart, and provide them with full sun. Water at the soil level, avoiding overhead watering. Wet foliage is the leading cause of fungal disease on cucumbers. Water deeply and less frequently, rather than shallowly every day. Now let's address crop number 5, winter squash and pumpkins. This is the one. Of all 9 crops on this list, this is the entry that prompts the most expressions of regret every single year, without exception. Every October, when someone sends me a photograph of a partially developed butternut squash that didn't fully cure before the frost, or when someone comments that their jack-o'-lanterns were the size of softballs instead of the full-size pumpkins they envisioned, the answer is almost invariably the same. They planted too late. They missed the June planting window. Let me explain why this particular crop is so time-sensitive, in a way that will remain with you. Winter squash and pumpkins are not rapid growers. They require a frost-free growing season of 80 to 120 days, depending on the variety. This growing period commences from the moment the seed is placed in the ground. Now count backward from your average first frost date. If you are in Zone 6, your average first frost occurs around mid-October. Counting 100 days back from mid-October places you in mid-June. that is your absolute latest planting date, not your ideal one. Your ideal planting date in Zone 6 is the first week of June, or even late May. If you are in Zone 5, your first frost arrives in late September to early October, meaning your window for long-season squash and pumpkins is genuinely tight, and getting seeds into the ground during the first week of June is non-negotiable. The reason this is crucial, beyond mere harvest timing, concerns the squash itself. Winter squash varieties like Waltham butternut, delicata, red curry, and Hubbard require time for their outer skin, the rind, to fully harden and cure. This curing process is what enables them to be stored for months at room temperature. A butternut squash that was harvested prematurely due to frost, or that didn't have adequate time to cure on the vine, will rot within weeks. You need those final weeks of warm fall weather, ideally in September and early October, for the skins to toughen completely. You can only achieve these crucial weeks by planting in June. For pumpkins, Connecticut Field is the classic carving pumpkin, maturing in 100 to 110 days. This variety absolutely necessitates an early June planting in zones 5 and 6, with no exceptions. Howden is similar, maturing in 100 to 115 days. If you desire pie pumpkins with exceptional flavor, sugar pie matures in 100 days, and Long Island cheese in 105 days. Smaller ornamental varieties like Baby Bear and Munchkin mature more quickly, around 90 to 95 days, offering a bit more flexibility in zones 5 and 6, but not much. For winter squash with the best storage potential, Waltham butternut at 85 days is one of the top performers across zones 4 through 9. Spaghetti squash matures in 80 to 100 days and serves as a low-carbohydrate pasta alternative that stores for months. Delicata is a personal favorite of mine. It matures in 90 days, has compact vines, exceptional flavor, and stores for 3 to 4 months with ease. Now let's consider the financial picture. Butternut squash at a grocery store typically sells for $2 to $4 per squash. Organic sugar pumpkins range from $3 to $6 each. A healthy vine will produce 3 to 5 squash or pumpkins, depending on the variety. However, the true value lies in the storage capability. A well-cured butternut squash stored at room temperature can last for 3 to 6 months. You are not just saving money in October, you are building a food supply that sustains you through the winter. 3 healthy plants producing 4 squash each, at $3 per squash, yields $36 worth of produce from $3 worth of seeds and a small patch of land. Provide winter squash and pumpkins with full sun and ample space. These are large plants with vines that can extend 6 to 15 feet, depending on the variety. If space is limited, opt for compact bush-type varieties such as bush butternut or honey bear acorn squash. Plant seeds approximately 1 inch deep, sowing 2 to 3 seeds per hill, and then thin to the strongest seedling. Space hills 8 to 10 feet apart for standard vine types and 4 to 5 feet apart for bush types. Finally, crop number 6, melons, watermelons, and cantaloupes. Let's be upfront about melons. They're not exactly the most forgiving plants on our list. They demand a lot. They crave warmth, they need ample space, and during fruit development, they require a steady supply of water. Without sufficient time and heat, you won't get those sweet, full-flavored fruits. However, when you get it right, a homegrown watermelon or cantaloupe is so superior to anything from a grocery store that it fundamentally changes your perspective on this fruit, making you a lifelong convert. Most American gardeners can realistically start growing melons in June. Before this month, soil temperatures in many regions aren't consistently warm enough for seeds to germinate properly without succumbing to rot. Sow melon seeds directly into soil that's at least 65 degrees Fahrenheit, ideally 70 or warmer, in June, and you can expect germination within 7 to 14 days, followed by vigorous growth in the ensuing heat. Melons typically take 70 to 100 days until harvest, so planting in June ensures ripe fruit in August or September, which is peak eating season. For watermelons in expansive garden plots, the Crimson Sweet variety is the benchmark. It yields fruits weighing 10 to 25 pounds in 85 to 90 days and thrives across zones 4 through 10. Sugar Baby is the superior choice for smaller gardens, producing 7 to 10 pound, icebox-sized melons on more compact vines within 70 to 75 days. If you're seeking something truly extraordinary in both flavor and appearance, the heirloom Moon and Stars watermelon is a must. It requires 90 to 100 days to mature, but its flavor is exceptional, and its dark green skin, flecked with yellow, makes it one of the most visually stunning plants in any garden. For cantaloupes, Hale's Best Jumbo stands as the quintessential American cantaloupe, maturing in 80 to 85 days and offering remarkable fragrance and sweetness. It's widely adaptable. Athena is a modern variety with disease resistance that stores well after picking, making it practical for gardeners who might not harvest at the exact optimal moment. The financial aspect of growing melons is quite clear. Organic cantaloupes currently retail for $3 to $6 each at markets and grocery stores. Watermelons can range from $5 to $12 for a medium-sized fruit. A healthy watermelon vine typically produces 2 to 4 fruits, while a cantaloupe vine yields 3 to 6. For a few dollars spent on seeds and the use of one garden bed, you're looking at a melon equivalent value of $30 to $60. More importantly, you'll be savoring melons that ripened on the vine just 12 hours before you slice them open. A taste experience unmatched by any grocery store offering in America. Melons absolutely require full sun. They need it more than nearly any other vegetable. As the fruits begin to swell and approach ripeness, some experienced growers slightly reduce watering in the final 1 to 2 weeks to concentrate sugars. Watering heavily right up to harvest can dilute their sweetness. For cantaloupes, a ripe melon will detach from the vine with a gentle tug, a sign known as full slip, which is the most reliable indicator of readiness. For watermelons, look for the tendril nearest to the fruit stem to turn brown and dry. That's your cue. Before we move on to the final 3 crops, and these are ones that I believe most gardeners in their 50s and 60s truly underestimate, I have a question for you. Think back to the last 3 springs. Tally up your spending at the garden center, the trays of annuals that didn't survive, the tomato plants that succumbed to disease, the bag of fertilizer you bought simply because the packaging looked appealing. For most American homeowners, that figure likely falls between $300 and $800 over 3 years. And what was the return? A few weeks of vibrant color, perhaps a handful of tomatoes, and a mental note of what you'd attempt differently next year. Clicking that subscribe button costs you absolutely nothing. Zero. This channel is free and airs every single week. The insights we provide, including specific varieties, optimal timing, and precise yield calculations for your garden, represent the same information that once necessitated consultations with landscape professionals or years of costly trial and error. Hit subscribe before you forget, and share this video immediately with at least one person you know who habitually spends money each spring on plants that consistently disappoint them. Send it to them. It could be the most beneficial gardening action you take for them this season. Crop number 7, okra. Allow me to share a principle with you, gleaned from 25 years of gardening experience, that applies to nearly everything I know. The plants that demand the most heat, the most sun, and the least fuss are almost invariably the most rewarding. Okra is the clearest illustration of this principle I've ever cultivated. Okra is a true hot weather crop. It dislikes cool nights and cloudy days, and it absolutely refuses to thrive in cold soil. Plant it too early in spring, and it will languish, sulk, and rot. Sow it in June, when the soil is warm, the sun is intense, and the nights remain above 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will flourish. Germination occurs in 5 to 7 days, with pods ready for harvest in 50 to 60 days, making it one of the fastest and most prolific warm season crops you can grow. For varieties worth planting, Clemson Spineless is the standard recommendation for good reason. It's spineless, so harvesting won't leave you covered in the fine prickles that adorn other varieties. It matures in 55 days and performs well from Zone 5 through Zone 10. Emerald is a longer potted, highly productive variety with excellent flavor and a 58-day maturity. Burgundy is a striking red potted variety that transforms to green when cooked. It matures in just 49 days, making it the quickest maturing common variety available, and it adds genuine visual interest to any garden bed. For confined spaces, Baby Bubba Hybrid grows only 3 to 4 feet tall compared to the 6 to 8 feet of standard okra, yet it produces prolifically in zones 6 through 10. The financial justification for growing okra is most compelling in the southern United States and in urban markets elsewhere. Fresh okra typically costs $3 to $5 per pound at most grocery stores and farmers markets. A single mature okra plant can yield a pound or more of pods per week at its peak production. Under optimal conditions, in zones 7 through 10, a well-situated okra plant will produce from July through October or even November, spanning 16 or more weeks of production. At $3 per pound weekly, one plant is worth nearly $50 over a full season. Plant 6 to 8 plants in a row, requiring approximately 12 to 16 linear feet, and you're looking at $300 or more in equivalent grocery store value from just one section of your garden. Reflect on that calculation for a moment. Spacing is a crucial consideration with okra, and most gardeners plant them too closely. Allow a minimum of 18 inches between plants, with 24 inches being preferable for full-size varieties. Okra grows tall, and crowded plants aggressively compete for light and airflow, which reduces pod production and promotes fungal issues. Full sun is non-negotiable. Okra grown in partial shade yields almost nothing worth harvesting. Harvest pods when they are 3 to 4 inches long. Do not let them grow larger. A pod that is 5, 6, or 7 inches long will be tough, fibrous, and essentially inedible. Harvesting at the correct size also signals the plant to continue producing. A pod allowed to fully mature on the plant prompts it to significantly slow down pod production. Check your plants daily during peak production. In the intense heat of summer, okra pods can transition from perfectly sized to overgrown in less than 48 hours. Crop number 8, carrots. Most people categorize carrots as either spring or fall crops, neglecting their potential for June planting. This is a mistake. A June sowing of the appropriate carrot varieties positions you for a late summer and early fall harvest, bridging the gap between your spring carrots finishing and your fall garden coming into its own. When done correctly, carrots planted in June are ready for harvest from mid-August through September, which is prime harvest time in zones 4 through 7. For a June sowing, Danvers 126 is your best all-around choice for summer planting. It is heat-tolerant, matures in 75 days, and handles heavier soils better than most. Scarlet Nantes is the classic home garden carrot, known for its sweetness, cylindrical shape, and excellent fresh eating quality, maturing in 68 to 70 days. Kurota is specifically bred for warm season production in hot climates. It is one of the most heat-tolerant carrot varieties available and produces well in zones 5 through 9 under summer conditions. For gardeners with shallow or rocky soil, where growing long carrots is challenging, Shantae Red Core is a shorter, stockier variety that performs well in difficult soil conditions and matures in 70 days. The financial argument for homegrown carrots is consistently strong. Organic carrots typically cost about $2 to $3 per pound at most grocery stores. A 10-foot row of well-grown carrots can yield 8 to 12 pounds of roots at harvest, translating to 24 to 36 pounds of produce from a garden strip less than 1 foot wide. The flavor difference between a freshly pulled homegrown carrot and a grocery store carrot that has been stored in a refrigerated warehouse for weeks is substantial. Homegrown carrots are sweeter, more complex, and possess a crispness that store-bought varieties rarely maintain. The main challenge with June carrot sowing, and I'll provide the specific technique that actually works, not just generic advice, is germination. Carrot seeds are tiny. They require consistent surface moisture to germinate. The intense June sun can dry out the top half-inch of soil within hours on a clear day. Most June carrot sowings fail not due to incorrect timing, but because the seeds dry out before they can germinate. The solution lies in microclimate management, which I will detail shortly. Prepare the soil deeply before anything else. Loosen it 12 to 14 inches down if possible. Carrots will fork and deform in compacted soil, hard clods, or in the presence of rocks. Sow seeds very shallowly, no deeper than 1/4 inch. Then thin the seedlings to 1.5 to 2 inches apart. I understand the reluctance. You grew them, and you don't want to pull them out. However, crowded carrots produce small, deformed roots with poor flavor. Proper thinning is what transforms a mediocre carrot planting into a bountiful harvest. Do it. The thinnings are edible greens, so nothing goes to waste. Crop number 9, beets. Beets are among the most genuinely efficient vegetables in the entire garden, and I believe they deserve far more attention from American home gardeners than they currently receive. Here's why I call them efficient. When you grow beets, you obtain 2 crops from a single plant. The greens that emerge first are edible, nutritious, and delicious when cooked like Swiss chard or spinach. The roots develop subsequently and are one of the most versatile and flavorful vegetables you can harvest from a summer garden. A single row of beets provides greens for weeks and roots at the end of the season. No other root crop offers such a dual return. Direct sowing in June yields beets ready for harvest by late summer. In zones 3 through 5, where the growing season is shorter and fall frosts arrive earlier, a June sowing perfectly positions your beet harvest for September and October, just as temperatures begin to cool. Beets actually develop their best flavor and sweetness as the roots mature. In cooling fall temperatures, the cool nights stimulate sugar development in the root, and a beet harvested in September from a June planting is sweeter and more complex than one harvested during the midsummer heat. For varieties, Detroit Dark Red is the classic American beet. It's reliable, productive, matures in 58 to 65 days, and is widely available. Chioggia is an heirloom Italian beet with striking red and white concentric rings. It matures in 54 days and has one of the mildest flavors, making it more approachable for family members who claim they dislike beets. Golden beet varieties like Touchstone Gold mature in 55 days, don't stain everything purple when cut, and possess a sweeter, milder flavor than red beets. Cylindra is a long cylindrical variety that produces uniform, easy-to-slice roots and matures in 60 days, making it excellent for pickling. All these varieties perform well across zones 3 through 9. Fresh organic beets typically sell for $3 to $4 per bunch, usually containing 3 to 4 medium-sized roots. A 10-foot row of beets can yield 30 to 40 roots at harvest, which translates to 10 to 14 bunches, or $30 to $56 in equivalent grocery store value. Add to this the value of the greens. Baby beet greens at specialty grocery stores can cost $4 to $6 per small bunch, and the total yield from that 10-foot row represents significant, tangible monetary value. 2 crops, 1 seed packet. Plant beet seeds half an inch deep, spaced 2 to 3 inches apart in the row. One aspect most gardeners are unaware of regarding beet seeds is that they are actually clusters, meaning each one contains 2 to 4 true seeds packed together. This is why you will almost invariably see multiple seedlings emerging from each planting spot. Thin to 3 to 4 inches between plants after germination. Yes, you will be pulling up tiny seedlings that appear perfectly healthy. Do it anyway. Crowded beets produce small, misshapen roots. The thinnings are edible greens, so nothing is wasted. For zones 3 through 5, June 1st through June 15th is your ideal window for a September to October harvest. Zones 6 through 8, you have until the end of June. Gardeners in Zone 9 should note that beets struggle in extreme summer heat. If your temperatures regularly reach the upper 90s, sow beets in a location that receives afternoon shade or wait until August for a fall planting. Now, before I direct you to the garden, I want to address something directly, as it is the primary reason June sowings fail, and it affects every single crop on this list. All 9 of these are direct sow crops, which is the correct approach. However, June soil in much of America presents a significant germination challenge that you must understand and plan for, or you will lose seeds and waste time. The issue is heat and moisture. Intense June sun, particularly in the south, the desert southwest, and any region with regular 90-degree days, dries out the top inch of soil within hours of watering. Most vegetable seeds require consistent surface moisture to germinate. If that surface dries out during the critical germination window, the seeds either perish or enter dormancy. This is why you might sometimes hear someone say they tried planting beans in June and had zero germination. They weren't doing anything fundamentally wrong. They simply didn't address the moisture retention problem. The first and most crucial tool is thorough pre-sowing irrigation. Before you plant any seeds in June, water the bed deeply the day before planting. You want the soil moist 6 to 8 inches down. Then plant your seeds and water gently again to settle the surface. Starting with deeply moist soil provides a reservoir that maintains stable surface conditions for a much longer period than starting with dry soil. This single step costs you nothing and makes an enormous difference. For slow germinating seeds, especially carrots, but also beets in hot weather, use surface covering during the germination period. Lay a thin burlap cloth, a layer of damp cardboard, or a piece of floating row cover directly over the seeded area. This shading reduces the soil surface temperature by as much as 6 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit during peak midday heat and dramatically slows evaporative moisture loss. Lift a corner and check daily. The moment you see green tips emerging from the soil, remove the cover completely. Seedlings under a dark cover will etiolate, stretching desperately towards light and becoming weak within 1 to 2 days if the cover isn't removed promptly. Do not leave it on and forget about it. Shade netting is one of the most underutilized tools in American home gardens, and I want to see more gardeners employing it. A 30 to 50% shade cloth stretched over wire hoops above a newly seeded bed measurably reduces soil surface temperatures during peak midday sun. This isn't coddling your plants. It's creating a microclimate that mimics the germination conditions these seeds evolved in. Filtered canopy light, moderate soil temperature, and retained moisture. As soon as your seedlings are an inch or two tall and established, remove the shade cloth and allow them full sun. Compost and mulch play a critical role in successful June germination. Incorporate 2 to 3 inches of finished compost into the top 6 inches of your planting bed before sowing. Compost significantly enhances the water-holding capacity of soil, whether it's clay or sandy. After germination, apply 1 to 2 inches of straw mulch around your seedlings, not on top of them, but surrounding them. Straw mulch reflects a portion of solar radiation and keeps the root zone significantly cooler than bare soil. Some trials have shown this can maintain root zone temperatures below 80 degrees Fahrenheit, even when air temperatures are significantly higher, which is vital for root crops like carrots and beets. Covering seeds with a thin layer of vermiculite also promotes consistently fast germination rates and is worth keeping a bag of on hand specifically for your root crops. One final technique, and this applies directly to okra on today's list, involves some heat-loving plants with extremely hard seed coats that can significantly impede germination. To overcome this with okra, soak the seeds in warm water for 8 to 12 hours before sowing. Place them in a small bowl of room temperature water the night before you plan to plant. By morning, the seed coat will have softened, absorbed initial moisture, and germination will occur significantly faster and more uniformly than with dry seeds. This simple step takes 30 seconds and can reduce your germination time from 10 to 14 days down to 5 to 7 days in warm June soil. Beets also benefit from a shorter 2 to 4 hour soak. None of this is complicated. It's the type of practical technique that distinguishes a successful June planting from a frustrating one, and it's the kind of information that no one at a garden center will ever take the time to explain. Now let me synthesize this for you, as I don't want you to leave this video with just a list and no actionable plan. You have 9 crops before you. Each one is direct sown. Each one belongs in June soil. Each one will yield a tangible, financially significant harvest by late summer and fall. And every single one becomes more challenging, and in some cases impossible, to grow from seed for this season the longer you delay. Here's what I want you to do before the end of this week. Select just 3 from this list, not all 9. Choose 3 that align with your available space, your growing zone, and your culinary preferences. If you have ample sunlit space, consider winter squash or pumpkins, as the window for these is closing most rapidly. If you are in zone 7 or warmer and have never grown okra, make that one of your 3 selections. If you have a 10-foot stretch of bare bed with absolutely nothing planted. Soybeans. You'll have them on your table within 50 days. You don't want to be the person who discovers this channel 6 months from now and regrets not subscribing and acting today. The gardeners who watch this video and put seeds in the ground this week are already ahead of where you will be if you wait. That's not a scare tactic. It's the reality of a seasonal window, and this one is currently open. You will not be the person who watches this in September and thinks, I knew I should have planted those in June. You will be the person who walks into their garden in August with a harvest basket that proves they understood the timing and acted upon it. Do not wait until you feel completely prepared. You are ready right now. The seeds are accessible. The soil is warm. The window is open. Please enter your USDA zone in the comments below. I read every single one. Tell me which 3 crops you are planting this week. And if you have a friend or neighbor who has been dissatisfied with their garden this year, send this video to them immediately. This is the sort of knowledge that revolutionizes gardening, not merely for a single growing period, but in an enduring fashion. For those who haven't yet joined us, I am truly eager to learn the reasons behind it. This platform operates without any cost to you. We present new content weekly, meticulously crafted for cultivators seeking tangible data, quantifiable outcomes, and verifiable achievements, rather than merely aesthetically pleasing imagery and ambiguous suggestions. Please consider subscribing and rejoin us next week. A wealth of further insights awaits. Now go cultivate something.